Okay, so we'll start with the session covering the agenda that the topics that we are going to cover today. First will be overview of the supply chain. Then we'll start with the advanced planning and optimization modules because PPDS is a part of SAP Advanced Planning and Optimization, which is known as SAP APO. Then so what are the advantages of HANA? Then core interface, master data integration, different product heuristic that we have in PPDS, detailed scheduling of PPDS, which is nothing but the main USP of PPDS. Why all the clients go ahead and implement PPDS is because of detailed scheduling. Then different alert monitor, which is available, like you can generate the different alerts in the system. And what are the limitations of S4HANA in terms of PPDS? So we are going to cover overview of all these topics. So if you have any questions, we can definitely take it as we finish each topic. This will not be too much in detail. So definitely there might be some questions that you will be able to understand after seeing the system. Starting with the first topic, overview of the supply chain. So this is a very simple example of a supply chain, which includes your manufacturers, distributors, and supplier. So as a part of supply chain, we have a manufacturing location, which is nothing but the plant which produces the finished product. These finished products are produced using your raw materials, semi-finished product. Raw materials are the one which we procure from a supplier, and semi-finished products are again produced in the manufacturing plant, for which we again require a raw material which is procured from the supplier. Once the products are produced, they have been distributed to different distribution centers, which is mainly termed as DCs. These distribution centers then supply these products to a customer. So there can be a direct customer demand which comes from the distribution center, which is fulfilled after the production of those products. Then customers buy the product. They can be directly using it for their own consumption, or maybe it is going to some other consumer. So this is fairly an example of a supply chain where the flow of goods start from your supplier, manufacturer, DCs to customer. However, the information is a bi-directional. So in a supply chain, you have a lot of feedback, input, and different reports that gets generated based on each activity in the supply chain. So that information flow happens in a bi-directional. So those who are working in production planning or material management, they will probably be aware about this supply chain. As a part of PPDS, and where it comes in picture is basically at the manufacturing location, because production planning and detailed scheduling is basically to produce as per your demand, and to use your existing resources to in terms of your products, in terms of your machineries, and produce it at the required time when the customer needs it. So that is the main aim of a PPDS. So PPDS is mainly covering the part of manufacturing locations. Overview of APO modules. So there are different APO modules which a company can select based on the requirements, starting with the demand planning. So demand planning is basically for generating the forecast. There are different algorithms available out of box by SAP, which are given, which takes the input as your history, or the past sales orders and the actual quantity that we can say, and using that and obviously your other parameters in terms of your locations, products, customer base, it creates the forecast. Now this forecast is nothing but the demand. So for a particular product, you have, let's say, example of the FMCG product, beverage. So for that you have a demand in particular location for particular customer. So that demand is generated using the demand planning algorithms. Now this demand is then given to the supply network planning, which is the second module of APO. Supply network planning is basically used for mid to long term planning, 12 months to 24 months in the range. It is basically used for the rough cut planning, where you have to ensure that whatever is demand falling in next 1 year or 2 years, you have enough resources or the machine to produce that demand. And if you want to procure something or if you want to produce the finished semi-finished products for that, by when you should start. So this will be a rough number. Distribution and the transport also falls in the supply network planning to some extent, where the distribution happens to a different DCs or the distribution centers. There are different rules or criteria for the distribution, and there are different tools available within supply network planning. So we have heuristic, supply network heuristic, which is basically infinite planning, because supply network planning does not consider the availability of your existing resources. However, it will plan considering all your resources are always available. Then you have a deployment. Deployment is again a tool within supply network planning, using which you can deploy the existing stock or your production to your distribution centers using some out-of-box functionalities given by SAP. Then you have transport planning. So there are two models basically for the transportation planning, but within SNP we have transport load builder, which ensures that the truck capacity and the result of a deployment is been taken care correctly, and how you're managing your sources or the logistics. So that is taken to some extent in supply network planning. Moving on to next module, which is production planning and detailed scheduling. So like I said, SNP is mainly for the mid to long term planning, versus production planning and detailed scheduling is your short term planning, short to mid term planning. So let's say from 3 to 6 months planning is basically done by PPDS. It is done at the manufacturing locations. It is a finite planning where we have to consider availability of the existing resources. We have to schedule the orders as per the resources, and the production plan is created in such a way that if you want to produce a finished product on a particular day, then by when you have to start procuring the raw material for that production, for that particular production lot or the finished products. So planning is done to this detailed only in PPDS. There are some companies which opt for all three, demand planning, supply network planning, and PPDS, because mainly the forecast is generated using the demand planning. Then supply network planning is for their long term and the mid term plan, and then PPDS. PPDS can definitely create your plan independently, and also some of the companies also use the SNP plan as a reference to the PPDS plan. So all your the rough cut planning, which are the receipts generated by SNP, are taken into consideration in PPDS, and only scheduling takes place. Or a company can directly go for PPDS planning. Then global availability. So this is mainly for your sales order. So if you want to ensure that a particular sales order is being fulfilled across your network, or across your supply chain, then we have to use the global availability check, during which if a particular product is not available at the given warehouse or the distribution center, then it can procure that product, or it can replenish that product from some other distribution center, and the sales order can be fulfilled. Then transportation planning and vehicle scheduling. So like I mentioned, in SNP you have a transport load builder, which creates your transport plan. However, in transportation planning, it is to further in detail, where you do the logistic planning. You have to arrange for your vehicle scheduling. So if considering your lead time between the locations, you have to schedule the vehicle. So these are different modules which are available in APO. Now, considering HANA, out of all this, only production planning. I am on the second screen actually, overview of SAP APO models. Is the screen visible here?
No, we cannot see. We're able to see on the first screen.
We are able to see only the first slide, overview of S4 HANA.
Okay, let me stop and share again.
Yeah.
Are you able to? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so these are the different modules that I just covered. And before moving on to the next overview, so basically as a part of HANA, we have only PPDS, which is integrated in S4 HANA, whereas all the different modules are not available in HANA. So given a SAP path in next 5 to 7 years, SAP is not going to support SAP APO modules, and we will have mainly all the other functionalities like demand planning, SNP, and availability check, etc., to be taken care by IBP, that is integrated business planning. And the PPDS has been separated and it is into HANA. Now, why PPDS is separated is because it is clubbed with a HANA planning actually. So you have a MRP planning, which is mainly done in the production planning, the infinite planning. So you have a result of your infinite planning, and then PPDS can be used for scheduling. So that is why these two modules are clubbed together, and other modules will be mainly integrated in IBP. Any doubts so far? Okay. So advantages of HANA. Inclusion of PPDS in HANA, that's a main advantage. Like I mentioned, PPDS is used for the constraint-based planning. So your constraint can be in terms of your machinery, in terms of your labor, or in terms of your product. So all those constraints are taken care in PPDS. PPDS has a different, out-of-box heuristic which are provided by SAP. So there are almost 20-25 heuristics which are given by SAP. Different heuristic has a different functionality, and based on your requirements or client, we can use one heuristic, or we can use more than one heuristic as well in the planning. So example is your standard lot size, where the normal MRP planning, it's the same like a standard lot size planning, infinite planning, and considering your lot size and other constraints from material master. Then shelf life planning. PPD supports the shelf life planning. So in case of the industries like pharmaceutical, where we have a shelf life, or FMCG, where a particular product cannot be stocked more than 1 year, let's say. So in that case, it is very much important to consider the shelf life of those products, and in no way we can peg a particular receipt or particular order which is expired to a sales order or the customer demand. So there's out-of-box functionality or the heuristic shelf life planning which PPDS offers. Then industry-specific features. So there is characteristic-based planning. So in case of your paint industry or in case of automobile industry, we can use the characteristic-based planning, which is again used in terms of creating your receipts as per the characteristics which are maintained. Then simulation versions. So we probably in some of the business cases we might need another business plan. So let's say if I'm having the forecast, a particular forecast, and the receipts are created, but I want to see if I add more non-working time. So if I ensure that my Saturday Sundays are working, or if I want to add another shift to existing shift. So currently my plant is working only in 2 shifts, but now I want to add 3rd shift because there is a seasonal demand which is more. So in all these cases, how my plan should change, or how scheduling will change, or how many machines I have to keep operating. So this will require your different business plan. We cannot have all these changes to be done in the production system. So there are different simulations are created where you can use your existing master data, and you can use your existing transaction data like demand, existing receipts, purchase orders, existing supply network. You can make all these changes in the simulation, and you can run the plan. And based on the output, if you think that after making XYZ changes, I'm getting a desired production plan, then you can copy those changes back into your production system. So this is mainly if you want to see some alternative, you want to see what analysis. So in all those cases, you can use your simulation. So you can copy data within versions. You can again delete data across versions. So that functionality is also offered in PPDS. Simplicity and seamless integration, that is advantage of HANA, because in APO, if like PPDS was also part of the APO, but to integrate it with SAP ERP, we have to use a different integration tools, and there was an integration model. So the data integration basically was very, it was very tedious to maintain data, because you have a selection criteria every time. So something is changed, you have to ensure that all your integration models are updated accordingly. But with S4 HANA and PPDS, there's a single system, and PPDS is part of S4 HANA. Then a simplified master data and the transaction data integration. So no complex integration model needs to be maintained, or no maintenance. It's just a one-time setting, and it's a plug and play. You can make changes anytime you want. Then it's a fast, I mean, we all know that HANA is the fastest database. So that is actually used in the PPDS in a way, because there is only one planning which is done in HANA now for PPDS as well as ECC. So earlier, I'm giving reference in terms of ERP and APO, because there was two different algorithms, or planning techniques. So one was specific only to ECC, as we call as a MRP, and the other was specific to PPDS or APO. It can either be your SNP or PPDS. However, in HANA, we can have only one MRP, that is called live MRP. So only that can be used, which will internally differentiate the products which will be planned on MRP in HANA, and the products which can be planned on PPDS. However, for users or for the planners, it's a single planning tool, which is planning all the products in one go. Then live cache. Live cache is a part of a database basically, which is only limited to the PPDS. So all your transaction data is stored in the live cache. This is kind of a basis setting basically. So when you implement HANA, or when you implement the PPDS module, we have to implement live cache as well. Without live cache, PPDS will not work. There will not be any structure to hold the data in PPDS. Then MRP type. From those who are from PP background, they would know that for APO, earlier SAP was offering the MRP type as X0, that is products which are planned using the external system. So all the products which have to be planned using APO has to be marked X0. So if you miss product which is critical product, and if you miss this setting, then it will not be considered in PPDS planning or the APO planning. However, now there is no no mandatory condition to mark X0 for the MRP type, because planning in PPDS is not restricted based on the MRP type. Now there are different settings which are given by SAP, using which you can control whether the product can be planned in PPDS or not.